For beginning potters, centering is going to be the first challenge. Certainly was for me. I have techniques that I learned and can share here to help anyone that may be struggling. The first step is simply to properly wedge the clay. I like to spiral wedge. It'll get the clay's particles aligned in the direction needed, and it should also push any little bits of air out. It will also even out any drier and firmer parts to the clay, and it'll get it all nice and homogeneous and smooth and easier to work with. And as you're wedging your clay, or even if you're just forming a ball, if it feels like it's too much effort to wedge or ball up, then it's too firm. It should be pretty pliable. You should be able to pinch off a bit pretty easily from your block. And if it's too firm, it's just going to be difficult to center. So make things easier on yourself and use some soft clay. So the first step is just adding a little moisture to the bat so the clay will stick. Not too much water or it'll just slide right off. And it'll also help you make yourself a target for getting the clay close to center as you begin. I add some water to start and then push firmly down and angled towards the center to get the clay to stick and seal to the bat. I use the heel and base of my left hand and then fingertips on my right. What's important is keeping the fingertips where you're placing the pressure and the base of your palm where you're placing the pressure on opposing sides of the clay. So if you were to draw a line following your forearm through the base of your palm, it would continue right through the center of the clay and touch your tips of your fingers on your opposite hand. I also like to brace my elbow of my left hand into my leg. It'll give that hand some stability. It helps prevent the clay from pushing back. This piece of clay is definitely too firm to work with. This is one thing that I notice people having trouble with, where the clay is sort of going around and around and your hands are going around and around with it. This is where locking your elbow into your knee will really help, because you want to be pushing back on the clay instead of sort of letting it push you around. So just brace that elbow against the knee. I like to use a part of my palm where at the base of my thumb where it meets my wrist. I feel like I can get the most leverage there and really push on the clay. And you can even center with just one hand using this point of pressure. You could choose whichever points of your hand you feel like are the strongest and give you the most leverage. For me, it's where the thumb and the wrist kind of meet, that like meaty part. And it just feels like it's a really strong position. I like to cone the clay because it makes it easier to center. I think it's kind of necessary. And I just start at the base and I squeeze in between the two hands and just sort of like guide that clay up into that cone shape. And then I use that base of my palm where my thumb and my wrist kind of meet to push back down and aiming towards the center of the bat, the center of the wheel, the center of the clay. And I use my right hand here just to guide as it goes back down. So each time you cone, you get it a little bit closer to center. And then another technique I like to use is the left hand is still the same, where I have the pressure on the base of my thumb and my palm in that strong section there. And then with my right hand, instead of coming at an opposite angle, push down with the side of your hand. And then one thing also that can help with centering is speed. I like to set the wheel head to a pretty fast speed. With each rotation of the wheel, you'll be moving the clay a little closer to the center, and more rotations mean you can center quicker and with less effort. That's especially true with really small amounts of clay, like a pound or less. A pound of clay or less I can center in what feels like a few seconds. The most important things, I think, first of all, make sure your clay is soft enough to work with. Your hands are on opposite sides of the clay and squeezing together towards the center, towards the same point. And then third is just find a way to make yourself stronger. Find some positions where you can get some leverage. And for me, that's locking that elbow into the leg. I think if you stick to these basic rules of centering, you'll be successful. It certainly will take some practice. It took me lots of practice. It wasn't easy at first for me at all. I think it's probably like that for lots of people. So hopefully this was helpful, and if you have any questions, just ask me in the comments below. Thanks for watching.